So let's talk about body dysmorphia. What it is, its upsides, which there are a few, the downsides, which there are many more, and a possible solution or ulterior way of thinking that might be significantly more advantageous or beneficial in terms of achieving the desired outcome that many people with body dysmorphia might want. To start, body dysmorphia is an unrealistic, negative view of one's body. I say unrealistic because it's rarely a rational assessment of one's weak points, but rather a hypercritical view of how you don't add up to maybe your expectations or what you deem as enough. And specifically within the realm of body dysmorphia, this is directed at one's body. So the upsides of body dysmorphia. Well, I think it's really important to be able to take a critical view of yourself and assess what your weak points are and how you can improve in any area of life, right? It is vitally important in relationships, in business, and in career, and in fitness and progressing your physique to be able to identify where you're lacking, how you can improve, and then have the drive to take steps to do that. Now, many people in bodybuilding use their insatiable sense of not being enough to drive them. And I think while it works for some people and it does drive many people to achieve very high levels of physiques, I don't think it is necessarily the healthiest or the most effective approach one can take in order to achieve a very high level of fitness or achieve the goal physique. And that is specifically because when you are hypercritical of yourself, your body, your performance, your state of being, that is almost by definition a deviation from reality. And by deviating from reality, you're distancing yourself from the possible actions that you can take to actually improve upon those areas in which you are lacking. And again, I think in any area where you want to be able to improve and make progress, it is crucially important to be able to assess where you aren't doing what you need to be doing in order to make that progress. However, when you become hypercritical of yourself or removing yourself from the actual reality of where you're at and going off into your head about how you're not meeting some imagined expectations that you have for yourself or that you think others have of you. That creates a high level of stress, which is directly counterproductive towards achieving your health and fitness goals and your physique goals. It puts more distance between where you're at or where you imagine yourself to be at and the solutions or the steps you can take to actually create market improvements in your situation, in your physique, and whatever the thing is that you are being critical of yourself around. And it makes the pursuit of progress and the pursuit of improvement inherently less enjoyable because instead of being motivated by the prospect of improvement, by the prospect of getting better and achieving that next step forward, you're being motivated by this fear of lacking, or this fear that you are not good enough. And that is a terrible state of existence that just propagates unhappiness and stress. And I think there's a substantially better way of going about doing all of this. Better as in promoting a better quality of life and actually results in more progress towards your goal of within the context of this video, specifically talking about achieving the physique that you want. But this still applies to any area of life where you're being hypercritical of yourself or focusing on how you aren't matching up to some expectations that you're setting for yourself or that you think others are setting of you. So, what is our goal? Let's define our goal as to better our physique, to improve our physique in whatever way we think it needs to be improved, right? That's the goal. The driver of body dysmorphia is that your physique isn't where you want it to be. And so the goal is to get your physique where you want it to be. So how can we go about doing that in the most effective way possible mentally? What is the mindset shift that we can make to most effectively drive us towards achieving the physique that we want to have? I think first of all, it's crucially important to maintain a real firm grasp of reality. And what I mean here is I think it's very important to maintain a firm stance in what the factuality of the situation is, maintain a rational, empirical assessment of what your physique is and the state of your physique without judgment. Is so often it becomes easy, and especially in those who suffer from body dysmorphia, the tendency is to start applying judgment to these things. My biceps aren't big enough. My back is tiny. It needs to be bigger. It's so small in relation to everything else, but everything else is too small too. Whatever it is, right? The tendency is to apply judgment, and applying judgment upon an assessment does not further you towards your goals. It creates stress, it creates disharmony inside of your mind, it creates unhappiness. Step one is take the most realistic, most rational, most empirical assessment of your physique that you possibly can. And then from that, identify the points that need improvement. So right now, I'm preparing for my first bodybuilding show. I'm going to be competing in classic physique. I know that for classic physique, and I'm like 4 weeks out at this point, so there's not really a chance of bringing up certain body parts. But I know for future, if I want to do more competitions, I really need to bring up my arms, most specifically my biceps. Need to build out my lats a bit more. Chest needs to come up a bit, and then quads need to get quite a bit wider. And I don't think any less of my physique because it is not there. It's just simply if I want to do well in classic physique, that's the direction that my physique needs to go in. And let's say I'm not preparing for a competitive bodybuilding competition, but just rather I want to look a different way just in my day-to-day life. Well, identify the points that you want to look different without placing judgment on like, oh, it's not good enough. Just say, my desire is for this body part to change in this way. So step one, take a rational assessment of where your physique currently is while trying not to pass any judgment on it. Of course, judgmental thoughts will pop up in your mind, but just do your best to let those go and not place very much weight or emphasis on those thoughts. Step two is to identify the goals that you have around your physique. And then step three is to identify the steps that you need to take to achieve those goals in the most effective way possible. I've coached some bikini competitors, and bikini competitors almost across the board need to bring up their hamstrings and glutes. You can pretty much never have too big of glutes as a bikini competitor. There are, of course, exceptions, but aside from edge cases, glutes just need to get bigger. And what is the most effective way of building muscle? Well, go into a slight caloric surplus and put a heavy emphasis in your training on the body parts that you want to bring up. Minimize the volume that goes towards the body parts that you are not trying to bring up. And many bikini competitors have a strong resistance to putting on any amount of fat whatsoever. But that fear dissuades them from going into the most optimal conditions for achieving their goals of putting on more muscle in the glutes, because they are afraid of, for a short period of time, having higher body fat levels than what they're used to. So being able to A, assess your physique, B, look at what your goals are for improving your physique, C, look at the steps you need to take to most efficiently, most optimally achieve those goals, and then D, and this is the hard part, give yourself the grace, forgive yourself for all of the intrusive thoughts that will be coming up when you actually start taking the steps to achieve your goals, right? Because your fear will likely push you in directions other than what you logically know is optimal for achieving your goals. However, if you are truly committed to achieving the goal of improving your physique in whatever way you deem it needs to be improved, then following through with the most logical, most efficient, evidence-based approach to achieving this improvement, focusing on that as opposed to focusing on where your fear drives you, will invariably lead you to achieving better outcomes in your physique, achieving your goals quicker and more thoroughly than if you just always listen to your fear and let your fear drive you. Now, this whole process, as laid out, is simple. Now, simple does not mean easy. If you are actively battling body dysmorphia, then fighting those thoughts and taking steps in a direction that does not necessarily align with what your body dysmorphia tells you should be doing can be very difficult and very stress-inducing. But it can also be very freeing. And this is really where some of the benefits of having a coach lie. where when you have a coach, you can effectively say, okay, I'm hiring this person who I trust can bring me from where I am to where I am committed to going, where I very much want to be in terms of my physique. I know and I trust that this person can bring me there as effectively as possible. So what that allows you to do is say, okay, I don't have to think about it. They'll lay out the plan for me. The coach lays out the plan. You have hired this person, so hopefully you trust that they can effectively do the thing you're hiring them to do. And then you can basically just say, okay, hands off. I don't need to think about this. I know that if I follow the plan that they're giving me, that I will get to where I'm trying to go. What that does is it allows you to just take a deep breath and relax. You don't have to worry about, am I doing the right thing? Am I eating enough? Am I eating too much? Am I training in the right way? Constantly reassessing, overthinking things. The mere act of overthinking and stressing about little details, the stress and anxiety that that creates is in and of itself detrimental to achieving your goals. Higher stress levels just means more body fat accrued and less muscle gained. In a surplus and in a deficit, it means more muscle lost and less fat lost. So, whatever your goal is, higher stress levels are directly counterproductive to that when physique is the desired outcome. And so, being able to say, okay, I trust this person to take me where I'm trying to go. I will follow the plan as well as I can possibly follow it. And I trust that they will guide me in the best way possible. So I don't have to worry about it. All I have to worry about is sticking to the plan as well as I can. And that gives you both freedom from the anxiety, as well as takes away from the justification of putting thought and effort into the body dysmorphic thoughts, right? The body dysmorphia is there. You might be rationalizing it by saying that without these thoughts, I'm not going to achieve the physique that I want to achieve. Well, you want to achieve that physique. That's how you're justifying those thoughts. You're saying that without these thoughts, I'm not going to get where I'm trying to go. Well, I'm here to tell you that without those thoughts and with a logically and effectively structured plan, you will be able to achieve those goals significantly more effectively. And all it takes is the determination and the commitment to follow the plan. With or without a coach, this is true. Whether or not you have a coach, being able to effectively come up with a plan that you know will take you from A to B, regardless of whether it's you coming up with it or the coach giving it to you. All you have to do is follow the plan at that point. There is no benefit in putting more thought into being hypercritical of yourself when you know that you will get to where you're trying to go as long as you just keep taking the actions that you need to take to get there. And at the end of the day, if your commitment to progress is not the reason that you're having these body dysmorphic thoughts and you just hate yourself, maybe that's something you should consider addressing. If you're in the gym to punish yourself for something, maybe seek therapy. Maybe seek therapy. And that is all I have for you guys today. I hope this was useful. If you want to see more psychology-oriented videos like this, let me know in the comments below. If you want to support the channel, please leave a like and subscribe for more content. Shoots.